when you worked with Brian May, that was for a project. What was that all about?
So that was a documentary called A Dog Named Gucci.
Okay.
It was about the changing of laws for animal abuse. So, I had an address that I wrote to, and it was actually him. I thought it was a manager. Ooh. He replied within 2 hours of it, goes, "Great idea. What do you need from me?"
Aloha. This is Jeff Cotton of Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band.
Hi, this is Terry Draper from Klaatu.
Hey, this is Paul Chastain.
Hey, what's up? This is Thomas Ian Nicholas of Rookie of the Year, American Pie.
I'm Brendan O'Hare. I used to be in Teenage Fan Club.
Vic from Star Collector.
Dano Troy.
Owen Radford.
This is Josh Bradley.
Hey, this is Mason.
And Paul of CatScan.
Paul Collins of The Nerves.
I'm Frankie Siragusa, and you're tuning in to Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio Show with Vinyl Man Jeb.
Let's just have a chat down here.
You're listening to Mad Wasp Radio.
Ow! Hey everybody, this is your host, Vinyl Man Jeb of Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio from Mad Wasp Radio. Here today with Dean Falcone. He has worked with Brian May. He was in the band The Excerpts. So many connections in the Connecticut scene. Everybody knows Dean. And he started hosting the Vomitoriums up at Café Nine, which is amazing stuff. So this is Connecticut history right here, but also a little bit of worldwide history. As I did mention, Brian May of Queen and many more connections have worked with Dean. Currently, he's in a band called the Shellye Valauskas Experience with his wife, Shellye. And I know them because of the Posies and many other connections that just led us all to be on the same path. I wrote a song with Brian Stevens, who is his bass player in that band as well, with Shellye. And it's just an awesome time. This podcast, I do get a little fast talky, but you guys are used to it by now. You know, I'm that giddy Chris Farley type when I interview at times. But enjoy. Our editor Mason did a great job at putting this episode together, and our thumbnail maker Owen Radford has put down a sweet thumbnail for this episode. So let's get it going, listen closely, and learn something new. Hey everybody, this is your host, Vinyl Man Jeb of Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio in a new zone. I'm in Dean Falcone's home studio. Ooh. Not a usual phone call. I'm actually in person with Dean, so this is exciting. Dean, how you doing?
I'm good.
Perfect.
Nice to see you.
Oh yeah, it's been a while. We've been seeing you usually with the Shellye Valauskas Experience, and I went to the Vomitorium this year for the first time. Joey Witt was there too, and all these great acts.
You survived the Vomitorium.
I survived the Vomitorium, so it was a lot of fun.
We should make pins that say that.
Yeah, you make it in, you have to make the pin as soon as you get out. But I'm gonna start like I start all my guests off with what got you into music, and it's probably a heavy question.
Wow. Okay. What got me into music? Well, I was lucky. I had my parents loved music. I have 6 sisters and a brother, so there was music coming from every side, everywhere, every kind of music, from like deep jazz to the pop hits of the day.
Everything, yeah.
So everything was always coming at me. So that was always there. And then my sister Jean is a musician, and she could play. She had drums in the early 70s when, women really weren't playing drums other than Karen Carpenter maybe. And she could play piano and guitar. And I was like, what is this voodoo? You can actually, a normal person can play an instrument. I mean, you can sound like that.
You make this inanimate object make a noise.
It's like, and just to see her do it. And it was like, wow, anybody can do this? I mean, it
takes time.
Well, you have to put time into it. But I was just amazed that, she'd be on the playing piano of songs I knew. And it's like, wow, I can't believe, and so she taught me some things. And, that's pretty much it. I grew up in a great time that was just full of music. I mean, it's always full of music. But particularly in the, the mid-70s, it was more than wallpaper.
I always wish that I got to grow up during that time, because my dad always tells me he grew up when the Beatles were on the Sullivan Show.
Right.
He got to live through the 60s and 70s.
It's always like that.
And he goes, it was like that time where you go to the record store and you're overwhelmed by the used record section. He goes, try being overwhelmed by the new record section.
Right.
Where you go to the record store and there's 6 new bands, 7 new bands, 20 new bands, and you're like, can't pick. You only had a couple quarters to spend. And
a true testament to that is, 50 years, we're still digging into the mid 60s and late 60s, all these new bands I still haven't heard.
Yeah.
Like finding all these bands. And
these box sets with all these, like the Nuggets. I love the Nuggets.
Is great. I mean, because you find all these bands.
Well, that's how I found the Pretty Things, and then they came on my show, and I love the Pretty Things. And then I found out about the Electric Banana. which was the band that I thought was before the Pretty Things, and Wally goes, no, the cool thing is they were during.
Right.
We did this during because we didn't want to stick with the record deal. They kept going. So we have a copy. I went to a record store in Syracuse and actually bought a copy of the original press of the Electric Banana.
Wow.
And I sent the picture to John Wall. They're like, you should pick that up. And I was like, really? They're like, don't let that go.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure. So I talked to the guy, and he actually gave us like a hell of a deal. Like there was like an old antique store. There was like 7 different shops. This is when we went to go see Paul McCartney. And it was just so interesting. Who's that?
Who?
Yeah, what band was he in? But it was just so much fun. I know you went up to see him in Fenway, and you actually got to wave to Sir Paul.
He was pulled right in front of it. Wow, that was really nice. Good timing.
That was perfect. I know Mike Miller was up there. He's the Paul McCartney in a sense. He's the one that looks just like Paul. He was on Fallon and Kimmel, and I'm good friends with him. I met him because of Charles Rosnay's Beatles Fest and stuff.
My first manager.
Oh, Charles?
Yeah, he managed the Excerpts.
Really?
Yep.
Did not know that.
He brought us to Japan, and yeah, he was our manager.
Well, he's
3
putting
years.
the Badfinger band, our Badfinger cover band. We're actually on at 12:30 because of Charles. So I interviewed him as well, and he's a nice guy. So that's pretty cool. I'll have to tell him about this.
He made the pin you're wearing.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. Yeah. Hi, Charles, with 3 exclamation points.
So the Excerpts started, I was just starting 10th grade at Hamden High, and somebody in my homeroom said, he knew I was a musician, well, attempting musician, and he said, I know this guy who has this huge organ at his house, and he like stabs it with a knife, and I was like, okay, whatever that means.
Sounds like Keith Emerson.
Well, at the time I didn't, even though I had seen the LP at that point, but I didn't equate. He just said, and he like was stabbing, and I just didn't equate it. It's like, well, I don't know. Do I want to see this guy?
Do I want to know?
Do I want to go over there? Is he going to stab me?
Am I the piano?
I don't know. So I met him, and then he had a friend, Steve Harris. So that was pretty much the start of that band. That was the core of the band. Steve wrote lyrics, and John wrote the music for the most part. So I started off as playing guitar in that band. I had learned in an open E tuning, which wasn't so great because there's a lot of things I wasn't able to do.
Oh.
And then that Christmas, they gave me a bass.
Oh, there you go.
So I think that, a subtle hint.
Oh, so you've been playing bass for a while then?
Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, you're playing bass.
There you go.
Which I was totally cool with, 2 less strings.
Yeah.
And then I found out, it's not just 2 less strings, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
It's
you have to groove, and I'm from Hamden, so grooving was a challenge. I didn't have much of a groove. I think my nickname was Very White for a while,
there you go.
instead of Very White. So that was pretty much the start of that band, and then that band was actually called Visions with a Z at first.
Ooh.
And we played
very power pop.
Yeah, and then within a couple of months we were playing in New Haven.
And then you mentioned the Japan. How was that going all the way?
That was really good. Yeah, that was about
That's like Cheap Trick.
3 years in. Well, yeah, that was definitely on our minds. We were huge Cheap Trick fans. I mean, that was really nice because when we met these guys, there was no internet back then. So if somebody knew the Kinks other than Lola, it was like, what?
Well, there's
Sunny Afternoon.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Because that was the whole thing about growing up without that. It was just like you met one guy. It's like, holy shit, you should be wearing a cape.
Yeah.
I can't believe the zombies. It's like, what?
I wanted to ask, how did the Vomitorium shows come about as well? It always intrigued me with the idea behind that. Let's speak about that.
Vomitorium were, boy, how do I think here? So I had a regular gig at a place called the Black Seal in Essex, Connecticut. I played pretty much every weekend.
Oh, wow.
And the first year, I think the Friday and Saturday was Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and I still had to play, which I really didn't want to play. And I had some friends in town, and I said, "Hey, we'll come up and play with you." And that was Jon Brion, and
cool.
at the time he was with Amy Mann.
Oh, okay.
So they came up. I was playing with this guy Solon, a really good music. I don't know if you know him, Solon.
Sounds familiar.
You would like him.
Oh, I'll check him out.
And so they came up, and we ended up just playing whatever came. I mean, if you know Jon Brion, it's growing up with him, it was just whatever. If
he's a genius of many.
I mean, it's just like any song. He's like, "Do you know this?" I close. He would say a song, we'd kind of get through it. So it was you have to be on your toes.
Yeah, you're spewing.
So the whole night would be like, King's Dead End Street. Okay. And, you get, whether you know it or not, you get through it. And Amy did a bunch of songs.
Oh, wow. And
it was really funny. And, I think we did, we had a drum machine at the time. It was just a duo. And John had programmed the Tomorrow Never Knows beat. And then we did Voices Carry over that, and Amy sang it.
Ooh.
And it was really cool. And then some woman, after it came over, goes, "Oh my God, you sound just like her." And she goes, "Oh, I've been listening to her for years." Which was really
it's like
funny.
Adapting to it. Yeah,
very, very funny.
That's cool.
So that was, the next year, when I had to play Thanksgiving, I had a lot of friends in town. So I was like, oh, I should just play with my friends that I don't get to play with because they've all moved away.
Yeah.
So that turned into the Thanksgiving thing just because we get to play with people we normally don't play with. And Ed Valauskas, who I played with a lot, he and I don't really sing in the bands that we're in.
So it gives you a chance too.
So we would, at that point it was like, oh, well then we can sing some songs. And early on it was just like we would say, here's 10 songs we're going to do. The rest of the night would be whatever happens. If we knew a guy in the audience knew a song, by Blondie or could do, or Big Star. Hey, come on up. You're singing, you're singing Ballad of
Well, I like
Godot.
seeing Joey because I know Joey's now moving to England and he's taken on to the next step of his music career. And it was nice finally meeting him because he was Song of the Week for me, and I had you guys as Song of the Week as well on Unlikely Places right since the beginning.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff. But it was just fun to see everybody, and you get to meet a lot of people too that I was like didn't expect were going to be there. And of course, Rich Dart is always a treat. I always like seeing him play percussion and just he really does keep that monkey beat going. So it's perfect.
He's a great drummer. I mean, he's a great drummer at anything, really. He's a trained,
he's good.
Supernatural power.
You're phenomenal on guitar. It was funny the one time my dad, the one time I don't go to the church thing that my dad went to, you guys were there with Steve Atwood there. You guys did like that super group at the St. Anthony's Church.
That's right. Because I saw
and
your
my dad texted me, he goes, "You're never gonna believe this."
That was so odd.
Are you kidding me? He goes, the one time you said no to go to this. I'm like, it's just gonna be used against me. But it was funny because I usually, it's like, you know what? It was funny. I used to always DJ that. So they replaced me. They didn't tell me who was
replacing.
replacing.
Oh, no, we took your money.
I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry.
I said to my dad, I said, you know what? It better be a musician.
It wasn't a lot of money.
Don't worry about it. No worries. No, it's just, and I was getting annoyed with the church style gigs because you can only play certain things. I'm always playing Sinatra, and then if you play something, Rowdy by the Beatles,
don't go crazy. Well, nothing wrong with a little Frank.
No, I like Frank Sinatra, I do. And you got into doing recordings for films, scoring movies and stuff. And I wanted to go into one of my favorite local films here is Pizza: A Love Story. I mean, it was fun to watch it on Tubi and see it on the apps and everything. But
cool.
How did that all come about? And just wanted to talk about the 3 best pizza places, but which one's the best?
So Gordon Bouchard, who's the director and writer of the documentaries, he was an Excerpts fan.
Ooh.
So when we played Waterbury, he worked for the newspaper. He reviewed one of our shows, and we became friends at that point. So years down the line, he was doing a movie, and he asked if I'd be interested in giving him some music for it. And we've done a ton of films since then. But anyway, so he had the ideas. After he did the Replacements documentary, he just wanted to focus on things that he was just passionate about. And I think his wife suggested, well, what about pizza? And he's
what about pizza?
and then he had to figure out what about New Haven pizza, how to go about it. So he came to me asked me I was actually to be a producer on that, a little more, more than just music, because he knew I was passionate about it, and we were
awesome.
We were pretty.
You had Henry Winkler in that film.
We had Henry Winkler. We had Lyle Lovett. We had Rick Nielsen. We had Michael Bolton.
All these great Connecticut heroes.
All these people that just love New Haven pizza, and they're out there still spreading the word. So that was one of my jobs as a producer, to get the celebrities to do it.
I think my dad said that was on regular PBS.
It was on PBS,
recently, because they watched it again, because we watched it on Tubi because we have that.
Right.
We were watching that, and then I was watching the one you just recently did with the.
It's on JetBlue as well.
Yeah, it's that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
It is interesting.
It's pretty cool. You're on an airplane and you're hungry and you're like, let's go. It's like the worst thing. Well, let's just torture our guests.
The airplane peanuts aren't
I'm not gonna
satisfy
for the New Haven pizza.
That is. So we started that. It took us about 12 years to make that film.
Wow. Well, it's phenomenal. It's very good. And you know what? It just shows dedication, because, you go to a film half-assed, you could feel it. The audience will feel it.
We live here.
Yeah.
So we had to get it right.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
somebody come after you, Dean.
Well, because knowing the owners of all 3 places, and you want to get each story right and get as much information.
I mean, I personally am I love Sally's. But I do have to say I'm a big fan of Modern.
Modern's great.
I go. You know what it is? It's cool about all 3 different places.
They're all different.
They're all different enough that you don't have to have just one and be like, this is the one I'm always going to.
Modern is the king of cheese.
They're good.
If you like cheese, you go to Modern.
Yeah.
I mean, Sally's the king of the plain.
Yep.
I mean, you don't have to put anything on that.
No.
It's so good.
It's just the bread is so good. Yeah. My buddy Ohio. My buddy Owen is coming up from Ohio, and for our RoboJack record bash, and he goes, "Where should I be going?" I said, "You're coming with me. We're going to New Haven." And my dad goes, "I'd like to go to Pepe's because I haven't been to the New Haven one yet." And I'm like, I'd like to take him to Modern because it's
Pepe's is I'm sorry, I shouldn't be so cruel, but I mean, Pepe's is a big name it's kind of like third or fourth for me down the line.
Really? Yeah, Sally's and Modern is so good.
I'm with you on that.
I went there though. I think we went to Sally's. I texted you guys the picture when I went, and then I went to Modern. I was texting you guys too. And the wait times aren't that bad. I mean, you go to New Haven, you expect.
I don't even care. You know what?
No, you know what you're getting.
I know I'm going in, and if I have to wait 2 hours, I'm waiting 2 hours. I know in the end.
You know what you want.
If I get something fast and it doesn't satisfy you because you're not getting what you want.
Exactly.
It's like,
And I have like a deep cut question here too. I was reading up. You guys were in a movie called Disconnected as a band. I saw this on your. I was doing some. I always do my research. But
I think that was Gorman's first film.
Really? Okay.
We and his dad owned some clubs in Connecticut. Ooh. He actually ran Toe's Place was in Waterbury for a while.
Really?
There was a second Toe's Place, and we were a house band there for a bit. We played every Tuesday for a good while, which was really good for us. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So through that, he wanted us to do a song for the movie, and there was a scene in the bar.
Yeah, I saw the clip.
So he were in that.
That's cool.
I'm nice that there's a bunch of footage of that band around.
Yeah,
it just hasn't gotten out there.
You gotta find it. It's like all deep cuts.
Well, most of it's in that up there. There's
awesome.
tons of concerts and DVDs.
Oh wow. And I wanted to move into the Shellye Valauskas experience because this has been the kind of the current project that you're doing, and kind of ask like how you met each of the members. Definitely wanted to ask how you met Brian Stevens because I'm a huge Cave Dogs fan. I start off with that. I got everybody listed, but
and his solo stuff is really good. He really.
Well, I got to work with him on a song, and it actually was on what was the show? The local band show. They played it. They're like, don't know too much about this Brian Stevens guy. I'm like, you need to know much more. They're like, we know Jeb because of Super Stale. And I'm like, go look up Brian, please. He's insanely good. But how did you guys come to meet?
Brian, I met because let me see. Oh, because he was playing with Amy Mann.
Oh, yes.
So she was playing Toads, and she had just written a song with a guy I was working with, Solon. And we opened. Oh, so that's right. We opened for Amy at Toad's place.
Oh.
And Brian was in the band. And actually, I think he says we met one time before, but I don't remember that. Mm-hmm. So what happened was, she called me and Solon up to do a song with her in the band in the middle of the show. Mm-hmm. And I was going to play piano, and Brian was playing piano at that point. And I walked on the stage, and I had a drink in my hand, and he looked at me and goes, "Oh, was that for me?" He thought I was bringing him a drink. He didn't hear Amy call us up. He didn't know what was going on. So that's how I met Brian.
Oh, wow.
But then afterwards, we went to a bar after the show and kind of got acquainted, and we had a lot of mutual friends, and super talented guy.
Yeah, it was actually funny. I didn't find out the Cave Dogs through you, actually. It was fun, or Shellye. Mm-hmm. I found out about them through John Howard because we were talking one night, and John goes, "You need to check out that." He goes, "Is Brian in that band?" I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Check out the Cave Dogs." He goes, "Joyride for Shut-ins is one of my favorite albums." And when you hear John Howard recommend an album, well, I'm damn well going to be pulling the album out and listen to it 20 times. And so it was such a good feeling, and and it's just meeting him was great, and then getting to work with him was cool because it was something different for me. Usually I'm doing all the writing and then sending it to somebody. Mm-hmm. It was nice that he did most of the writing, and I kind of just was like, all right, I'll chime in here.
He's a good writer.
He is, and it was just talent. And I know we'll be working on a cover for the Bonzos. I still gotta get that to you. I'm still working on that. Nick Frater got me the drums finally and the bass, and then now the house is all in a mess, so I don't have any recording. My little studio is not as nice as this. It's in a room, but you know what? It works, and I'm happy. But
whatever works. This
nice.
is nothing. I mean,
I know there's people that have it they're the whole room, and it's wow.
But I get it done.
I did want to ask, when you worked with Brian May, that was for a project. What was that all about? I mean, that's Brian May of Queen. So
yeah. So that was a documentary called A Dog Named Gucci. Okay. It was about
I see it there. Right.
Yeah, how the changing of laws for animal abuse and how they actually got and by state how they, because some of the states, if you lit a dog on fire,
they don't even recognize it. Yeah.
So this. I don't go on the whole story. It's a great documentary. So when I was trying to figure out music, it was like, well, I know Brian May is a huge animal advocate, and I want to work with him. So.
Yeah, there you go. There's always
right, but it was for this particular thing. I know he'd be interested in the cause.
Yeah.
So I had an address that I wrote to, and it was actually him. I thought it was a manager. Ooh. He replied within 2 hours of it. Goes, "Great idea. What do you need from me?" And then we went through this whole thing, and then you can see there's a letter from him over here,
wow.
Him apologizing to me because he wanted to use this song for long story, really crazy.
Wow.
So he's apologizing to me.
Wow, you're like, I'm gonna frame that, put that up, let's go.
But anyway, so cool. He could not have been. I mean, he was the best.
And you finally met up at the show. With Adam Lambert, right? It was the show that they did at the Xfinity in Hartford, I think.
It was in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Okay.
I'm not sure what the name of that place was.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind and it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Wow.
I got you a loaded question.
I think I met him originally when I was working at a record store. His uncle, I think I met his uncle first, who was a huge Elvis fan.
Was that Exile on Main Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I met him through that originally. I don't even know if it was from playing music. And then, we just, we're always friendly.
Yeah.
And then it just, and then our drummer for Shellye's band moved away, and then we asked Rich if he'd play with us.
Was Jim the original drummer? Is that Belga, or was it a different?
Yeah, Jim Belga was. Yeah, he was.
Because I know he moved.
Yeah.
And because I was talking to Jim a little bit, I always enjoy. He reminds me of my uncle. He looks just like my uncle. It's funny. I was like, it's funny because if they saw each other, they'd be like, oh shit. And it's funny. Jim Bassnight, who's a big Seattle guy, a friend of mine as well, looks kind of like Jim, and then he also sounds like my uncle. I'm like, what's happening here? But yeah, Rich is great, and I got to work with him. Brought him into studio over at 10 Selden, and it was a lot of fun. Worked with Jeff Wilson on a couple recordings with that.
That happens.
And it was fun, and everything rotated, and it was really cool just having a session drummer to experience that. And I just I have my stuff at home, but studio's always fun to go somewhere, and if you have the money, it's great to do it. But it is costly because you go and do one thing,
you get what you
the
pay
bass for exactly.
Yeah.
Gonna happen anyway. Ooh, when you least expect
working on an album by this artist called A Girl Called Eddie, which
I'm
a huge fan of her. Her name's Erin Moran, and I was just a big fan. And through the years, we kind of just contact, you know. And, anyway, so she started doing this album. It's kind of a 70s, a love letter to all the songs she grew up with, all 70s songs. And she was thinking about doing some duets and stuff, and she was doing one of Todd's songs called Believe in Me.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes, man, if only I could get Todd to sing on this. And I said, well, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Wrote to his manager, and, you know, his manager knew her. He knew who she was. He was a fan of hers.
Oh, so she's probably going, oh, Todd, please. You know,
so he was super cool. He goes, you know what? I'll run it by Todd. Send me the track. And we got a yes, like, instantly, and then within like a week we actually got his vocal back.
Well, it's like you don't even know who knows you. You know, you never know.
Yeah, so I was like, but he said I love her. He was a big fan of hers,
awesome.
Which is super cool. So and then when he came through, I got to meet him in person, and we talked about it. And super cool.
Another name that I saw that like kind of caught my eye because it's something different. But Bobcat Goldthwait. How did that come about? I love his comedy.
Yeah, I think he's great. Because
do drugs.
Well, yeah, I think everybody knows him as this. Yeah. He's like so much more. He's a great director. Like his movies are great. He has some great. Oh, you should check out some of his movies.
Have to now. Yeah, I'm gonna
World's Greatest Dad with Robin Williams that he wrote.
That was him?
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
He wrote that, directed it. He Shakes the Clown is another great movie you would love.
All right.
And then he's a lot of TV things. He did like a bunch of Louis C.K. show. He directed a few. Mark Maron show. He directed a few.
Oh wow. Okay.
Great. Anyway, so we were the house band. Shellye's brother was the MD for Eugene Merman's. He had like a comedy festival, and we were the house band, and Bobcat was part of it. So we got along. He knew about the Replacements documentary. They found out, I guess I told him that I was part of it, and he was a huge Replacements fan. So we just he's like the coolest guy. He's a nice guy. So nice, man.
From all the documentaries, like you always see him as like this nutcase and something, but he's actually like a sweet guy. I've heard.
He is.
Well, it's like Carlin. I've heard much different about after watching the HBO Max. I'm a big George Carlin fan.
Oh, that was great.
And after watching that, I have to watch part 2 because I left off on the worst way of ending. I need to watch part 2. It really sums everything. But his daughter really did a really good job on like getting that all.
Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
Put it together, but
that's right. Yeah.
It's a good documentary when it's like, ooh, they have to do another documentary to do this part, because they covered everything. Because some documentaries, like the George Harrison one, Martin Scorsese, they miss like a whole bunch of sections. It's like,
what bothered me with 8 Days a Week. They I loved the Ron Howard. It was great. But then they got to the end and were just like, all right, screw it. And they just I know why. They wanted to just cover the Shea Stadium. They wanted to cover big parts.
Well, it was mainly about playing live.
Yes.
And then obviously from 66 to 69, other than doing Hey Jude and Revolution, vocal live, they really didn't play. So that's kind of that was the jump there.
It was great. It was great.
But the George Carlin thing was great.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
I was
the George Harris. I love the watching anything to do with him. I started crying. I was watching that's on HBO Max too, the George one, and it was just like
they just missed a couple sections. I was kind of like, wow.
Yeah, what about this? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, he did the Dylan one and gave him 4.5 hours, and the George one was like, I don't know how long it was, but they could have. For George, you could have made it a little longer.
I got a couple more here. You just recently worked with Tony Visconti. What was that all about? I was very interested in that when I saw the pictures. I was like, because I just met his ex-wife, May Pang, up when I went to go see Edward Rogers, and I'm a big fan of him because I'm a big fan of Sparks, but also the Beatles. I mean, you can't forget the Tony with the Beatles. But how did that come about?
And Band on the Run.
Oh yeah,
he did all the Band on the Run strings and horns, and so I've been working with a friend of mine, Kelly Riley, who I've known for a long time, and one of the songs there was a debate whether there was strings on it, and she didn't want strings on it, but she did. She said, "Well, if I get strings on it, I want something like Tony Visconti would do." So.
And you're like, so here we go.
I don't care. I mean, I hear no most of the time in my life. I'm used to hearing no, so I'll ask.
Yeah.
So got hold of his manager, who was a freaking great guy.
Awesome.
Really great manager, and worked out a thing, and for him to write the score, and then we were just going to do it locally here and get string players from Yale to do it, and a friend of mine to conduct on it. And then Tony said, "Hey, you know what? I haven't been to New Haven in a long time. I'll come there. I won't charge you, but I'll come conduct.
Wow.
So he came and conducted it, and we had the best day.
Players probably enjoyed every moment of that too.
They
walk away with a memory that's solid for life.
Absolutely, and they were top-notch players, and and he got to have some Sally's pizza.
Oh, that's the best part.
So
screw the music.
Then he watched the movie, and he wrote me because I gave him the movie, and the next day he watched it. The next day with his girlfriend, he goes, "Man, the documentary was great. We have to come back. We have to go to all 3 in the same day. We want to go bang, bang, bang." So
I want to do that too at some point. I want to.
Yeah.
It's you know what? You only live once. You gotta you gotta do stuff that you can't worry about all the stuff that happens around you. You just gotta live for yourself.
Yeah.
And help people when you can, of course. And I believe in that. And it's just like it's so nice to do silly little things like that where you go and get one pizza from each of the places and just have fun.
Her old house, memories lost and found. Basement boxes, neatly sorted out. Things arranged, a family all talked out. Take her name, it's easy to pronounce. It's okay if you pray for something, you can't have it, yours to find. But today, the dark impending storm is in your sight, the one cloud in the sky. Just a boy playing in a grown man's suit, corduroy traded for adult shoes. The roles have changed, the child becomes parent, anchors away, will stop before it ends. It's okay if you say you don't know how you'll make it through today, but in time your clothes will fit the man you have in mind. But there's one cloud in the sky. It doesn't matter when she's gone, carried it all for so long that you won't know how to free yourself. It's okay, go out and play in open door. Your friends are still outside, and today in the sky the sun is burning bright. Not one cloud in the sky. In the sky.
No, there's bands like I know Big Star got into because of the Posies with that their mutual and also being in the band.
Sure.
And then I really love Big Star. I'm writing a book where I'm putting Big Star in the book. It does mean you might have to like the band if you're writing about them, but or not. You could be reviewing. But I really like them, and I really enjoyed how Stargirl brought that when they did the Disney adaptation and they did the movie. Have you ever seen that or no?
No, I'm not sure what that is.
Okay, so Stargirl was a book as well. But, they did a Disney Plus show movie. They're doing a second movie now, and in the movie she pulls out records and one of them is number one.
Oh, wow.
So it started bringing everybody to know Big Star, and I'm just like, I could either be the guy that gets mad that Kate Bush is at number one because I've been a fan my whole life, or I could be the guy that's so supportive of this, and I'm like, I hate that stuff. I'm so happy for her.
Are you kidding me? I can't see how anybody can even...
Yeah, I know.
That's the too cool for school thing. It's like, thank God people...
I was cool before you were cool.
Yeah, well, I grew up with people like that. It's like, who cares when you find out?
Dicks.
I'm just finding out, I'm still finding out about, bands like 1968.
From the 70s. Like, you didn't know about them? You didn't know about the Colors band, the Psych band from the 60s?
Well, you didn't know about that one guy that rapped on the corner of a street in Brooklyn in 1984?
How dare you?
You didn't know that guy?
Music.
It's your voice and yours alone. A cloud does not put out the sun, and no one cares what you've done. Forgive yourself and all your friends. It's not too late to start again. Are you listening to me? You've done. Forgive yourself and all your friends. It's not too late to start again right now. You are the sun. You are the sun. You are the sun.
Tuned into Mad Wasp Radio, so don't forget where you are. Don't change that dial, you don't need to